The ones I had near Impala carcass area, that side were much more fresh than the ones I'm seeing now. So looks like they were maybe Lanzarine. I'll keep you updated. We just let the guys know so that they know if there's anyone on the other side of the boundary, they can follow up. And yeah, they're coming down here again. So some of these wild dog tracks that I'm seeing here are hours and hours and hours old. And some that I'm seeing here are now, like we had way back there before I showed you, and then some are maybe 2 hours old. So I think the viewer's name is biting at the chop there, Lou. Sorry, I've got Game Drive also in my ear. Chomp, so Chomp, you're asking, how do the Impala numbers stay as high as... I'm gonna stop my tracking exercise just for a minute, but let me go out of the dip. My picture that I stopped in a dip. Okay, picture back and you can hear me. I'm just going to stop just on the top part here. It'll be easier for me to discuss this with you because this is a intricate question. By the way, our lions have not crossed out yet, so we're going to turn around at some point and come back. So basically everything has to work in balance. The grass species, the tree species, the prey species, the predator species, they all have to work in balance. If you have an imbalance, then you would see, say, no impala, because there's going to be an imbalance with predators. But just because impala is tasty does not mean that every predator wants to eat it. I know very few lion prides who go for impala. I see it happen. I see it happen more during lambing season because the lambs are so tasty. More in our area, the predators that are going to go for impala are going to be things like caracal, serval, leopard, and possibly wild dog. With a pack this size, yeah, they'll go for impala, but I've also seen a pack this size take down full-grown male kudu. Our lions that we're looking for, the amount of energy and effort you have to put into an impala is very difficult, and you can get injured doing it. They tend to go for larger things. I know the Nkuhumas really love buffalo, and so that, just because the predators are here doesn't mean that that's going to be their main prey species, and that's one of the reasons why the balance can be kept. Also, with impala are mixed feeders. They eat grass and leaves, and they need to drink water every day, and we have water sources that are constantly around, so they breed quite well, so their numbers are good. Sometimes you can have too high impala numbers. As far as I know right now, our impala numbers are fine, and our ecosystem is pretty much in balance for how it should be. There's a few slight variances. And that's a very brief explanation on a topic that we could actually probably spend 5 shows discussing that type of topic and how the ecology of these ecosystems function. But I hope that kind of gives you a brief idea of what we're looking at in regards to that particular scenario. It's the ecology of the wilderness areas in southern Africa, specifically South Africa, is extremely interesting, but very convoluted at some points and takes a lot of dissecting. But that's the broad overture of everything. Okay, our lions haven't crossed out. Our wild dogs are running up and down. We're going to turn around, check a little bit farther down, and see what we can find, see what happens. Stay with me if you would like to do some more tracking. I'm not quite sure. I know that Tristan, unfortunately, after your wonderful Tondi sighting, again, super jealous, Tristan has had to go and do some work on Jiga. He's having a bit of a problem, so I don't know if we're going to see his wonderful face again this morning. And then I know up in the Mara, it's super rainy. Our rain is more misty. While I was busy chatting with you all, Taxon was trying to get a hold of me. I'm just going to go through this little dip again. So sorry, so it's going to probably be a funny little picture for a moment, and I'm possibly going to lose audio, so just give me a minute or two. We'll do roller coaster ride. Okay. Excellent. Thanks, Lou. So you're still with me? I have a feeling this weather is going to sit all day. Just excuse me 1 minute while I talk to Tax. Tax, come in. Sorry, Tax, I'm just busy with my viewers. But yeah, those Mafloa have definitely crossed over west, over Triple M. And then those two Medora and Gala, I cannot find their tracks on Triple M crossing over. I wonder if they're still in that drainage line. Are you in the area? Copy, yeah. And then those Nkuhumas, if you go Sydney's Dam, and then Fumba Sandy Patch, Fumba South, that side, you'll pick up under that Mbula, you'll pick up that Nkuhuma's Fumba East, but south of Biffle's Hook cutline. The Nkuhumas or the Medora and Gala? The Medora and Gala come from the east on Vuyatela access, not far from Quarantine, from the western side of Quarantine. Fumba West, Fumba West, Fumba West, and then Fumba South and West towards the power line in Tlela. There's one spot where you can buga and konzo, just the wet soil on top of that that dark soil. Fumba straight across into that Inkova before that Impala carcass open area. Alright, so Tax is busy trying to help us find these lions because he also wants to see these lions. He obviously wants to show his guests these lions. So we are going to just let this vehicle come past. Go ahead, carry on your way. And then we are going to do our best to see about these lions because these wild dogs, I haven't seen them come back, crossing back over. I'm still hopeful that they haven't gone too far because there's a lot of Impala activity here. But because we haven't seen these lions cross quite yet, it is entirely possible that I missed them. But it's a big road. There's enough. I just want to check a little bit farther down, or maybe not. There's a lot of activity on this road. I think maybe let's go back towards that drainage system and see if maybe we can do something there. Because it seems as if our daily bush traffic to the lodges has come out on this cut line. The cut lines are very difficult to traverse and to track on because there's so much activity. I mean, we've got a lot of lodges here and the lodges need to function. The food needs to come in, and the staff has to get everywhere, and so sometimes it can prove a little bit tricky. But it seems as if Scotty D has managed to get out onto safari in the Masai Mara. So we are going to head up to him while I carry on tracking. And don't worry, we won't let the weather get us down. We are going to see what we can do for you. Enjoy the Mara.
Good morning and welcome on board. Manu and myself have finally made it across to the eastern side of the river, and it's been a long slippery journey to get here. There's been a lot of rain in the area, and looking forward to the adventures that lie ahead. We plan on spending the next 3 nights here, and our main goal is going to be to spend as much time with cheetah as possible. We'll take any cheetah, but I would ideally like to spend time with the Musketeer Coalition of 5 males. And we bumped into another vehicle a little bit earlier on that passed us that had come from that area, and they said that they had seen them around an area called Hammerkop, which is where they've been hanging out over the last few weeks. And they made a kill yesterday morning. I didn't ask exactly what, but happy to hear they are all well and possibly going to be thinking about another meal sometime today or this evening. They tend to kill on average. Morning, Kobe. Good to have you with us again. And you'd like to know, if I could befriend one African animal, what would it be? Poof. I think it would be pretty cool, and I know this is very selfish and we shouldn't have wild animals as pets, but if I could have a leopard as a friend, I think that would be awesome. Imagine having your friends around to your house and having a big, beautiful leopard lying on your couch. But that is a little bit selfish of us because, or me rather, but let's say that we could become friends and the animal still lives in the wild like here, and it just comes and says hello and tells us stories and tells us where they are. I guess that would be better, because then the animal would be far happier. But yes, I think a leopard, Kobe. Imagine how interesting it would be to be able to hear the stories from a leopard and be able to cuddle up with them. But again, I think it's better that we stick to the animals we've already domesticated than trying to domesticate these wild animals, because it's not fair for them to come and live in our funny world when they could be out in a beautiful place like this. Manu, what animal would you befriend if you could befriend one African animal?
Hyena, man.
A hyena. Interesting. Okay. So we've both chosen predators, Kobe. Kobe, what would your favorite animal that you would like to become friends with be? I would be very interested to know what you would choose. So please let me know. Beautiful. Now there is a chance in this area that we could bump into the 2 sisters, 2 female cheetah that have been spending quite a lot of time around here over the last few weeks. So I'll be scanning for them. Cute little zebra just ran across the road there. We actually interrupted its little toilet break. And thank you to all of you who have expressed your excitement that Manu and I have finally got into an area where you can join us on safari. It is great to have you all with us, and I really am looking forward to this mission. It will be my last mission across the river until possibly March next year when I return to Kenya. I'm going to be going back to the Sabi sands in Djuma for 3 or 4 months roughly. So mixed emotions, a little bit sad that I'm going to be leaving this beautiful place, and also especially the cheetah with which I've spent quite a lot of time. Lots of zebra all heading off that way. Little mini migration. What has been interesting is that outside of the migration months, we've noticed that quite a few of the things that happen during the migration still continue to. We're still seeing river crossings, obviously just not as many, there's just not as many animals, but the ecosystem does stay kind of similar regarding the herbivores and their movements. I'm also very excited to have got those updates regarding Thandi and her den sites. Sorry to hear poor old Tristan bent his steering arm. So that's exciting prospects, very, very exciting prospects, and who knows when you will get the first glimpse of those little fur balls that she's hiding away. You know what? I had this feeling that you were going to say that you wanted to be friends with elephants. And that's a very good choice too. That was also high up on my list. Imagine being able to just jump onto a big elephant bull's back and be taken on a safari through the wilderness. And like you say, also have a pool party with them. Good choice. I guess all the different animals would have their little benefits that they bring to the friendship. Manu really likes meat. Obviously that's why he wants to be friends with hyena, because they'll be able to tell him where all the carcasses are. So we've still got quite a big distance to cover before we get into the area that we want to work, so bear with me as we fairly steadily make our way in towards the area south of the Telek River, which will probably take us about an hour if we continue at this speed from here. So we've got some ground to cover. I'm so happy it's cleared up. As we woke up this morning, I passed Taylor when it was still dark at around 5:30, and the weather wasn't looking good. All of a sudden it started raining before we even headed out. So thankfully it's cleared up for the time being. Now you may have noticed one or two buildings or structures. We're driving along, we're actually outside the reserve here, and it's unfenced, so there are some of the local Maasai people who live on the edge of the reserve and have their cattle here. So those are the little buildings you may have seen. You may have also seen a few cows and goats. Very good. We're going to keep cruising along and send you off to another vehicle to see what they're up to.
Hi everyone. So sad news, our 2 male lions have crossed Triple M. Yes, I think we maybe only missed them by 20 minutes. I mean, those tracks were so fresh, but that's okay. I mean, they're coming in and out of the property. We're gonna go now follow up on the tracks that we also had for the Nkuhumas, because they, so as far as we can tell, have not left this area. So I'm very sorry about the lack of male lions and the lack of wild dogs, but it does happen, unfortunately. So we're gonna head more east and see what we can find, what we can come up with them. Lots of impala around this morning. Everything else seems to be hiding. This misty Kobe, you are wondering what African mammal I would befriend if I could. I don't know, Kobe. I'll have to give that one a good think and come back to you. I'm not quite sure who I would befriend. Let me think on that one. Possibly, I did say yesterday I would talk to a wild dog or a wildebeest. I might say wild dog again, but yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. It's interesting with all of the predator activity we have going on and going around that Tundi seems to be the only one who wants to come out and show herself, but I think that's partly because of her potential den sites. I don't know if Tristan has decided if it is definitely the den site. He would know better than I, Tristan or James, because they've both been there and I haven't yet to be there, yet to go and have a look. But yash, it'll mean that she's more stable in a more central area, and it sounds like it's not too far away from places we like to be. So it's very, very, very exciting. Shame. So this Nyala at our 9 o'clock is doing. Jandre, just let me know when you can see her just lying there. Tell me when to stop. A little more. Is that good? So that's what I wish I was doing right now, is cuddled up away from the drizzling rain and eating my breakfast. But that will come in about an hour, because I still have to find you some lions. Yesterday I wanted to show you leopard. Today I really, 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 really want to find you lions. So breakfast will come after that. There's Jandre in front of us. There's a hornbill that's busy feeding. That's looking. I'm gonna duck. I'm ducking. Southern yellow-billed hornbill is busy picking through some dung there and picking out insects. So the insects are going to be more active now. Shame. Look how wet and beraggled he looks. Oh, it looks like he's picking out ants. So with the rain like this, the ants are going to be trying to take all of the debris that's come in with the rain out of their hives, and so they're going to be a little bit active, and this hornbill is taking huge advantage of that fact. And then he can be wet and not have to fly and not hinder himself and still get a really good meal out of it. Reset. Amazing. Thank you, Hornbill. Okay, let's carry on going east and see about these Nkuhumas. So where everybody is at home at the moment, what's the weather like there? Is anyone having rainy weather? Is everyone having sunny? Is it nighttime? We have viewers from all over the world, so I'd be interested to know what it's like at home at the moment for you. Don't forget, you can follow us, #SafariLive on the Twitter and YouTube chat. And also send some questions there. We are interactive, we are live, and we love your questions. You're wondering if the buffalo will ever come back, or maybe their GPS is broken. Very, very nicely put. That gave me a giggle, as you can see. Yeah, so the buffalo numbers in general in the low-filled area took a huge hammering last year with that drought. So the numbers are much lower. I know the property that I was working on last year during the drought, we lost well over 50%, if not more, of our buffalo population. And something that buffalo really like to eat is mapani and mapani leaves and mapani seeds. The seeds themselves have a huge amount of protein in them. And there's places farther to our east that supply that. So with the way that the drought went and the way that the rain or lack of rain, excepting today, has happened, those buffalo have pushed back east. They will eventually come back. I don't think their GPS is broken. I just don't think where we are is a need or want to themselves healthy. So I think maybe if we get enough rain towards the end of the season, or maybe next season, we still get a few buffalo bulls that pull through. They haven't really gone very far, but I think the larger herds, we're just going to have to wait a bit. Look, anything can happen. In general, we're just going to have to wait a bit.
Apologies, it seems like Noel had a bit of trouble with their signal for a moment, hence you getting rushed over to us. We are still just steadily making our way through this beautiful open clearing and scanning desperately for any sign of the two sisters, two cheetah that we could maybe get lucky enough to see here. And shame poor old Taylor's stuck in the rain on the other side of the river. It looks like it should be clearing up soon. Doesn't look too bad across there, so she should be okay sooner rather than later. Bella Rose, you'd like to know, will the animals kind of run for shelter in rainy weather? And I mean, if there was shelters, I think they would use them, but there's sadly not many shelters in this ecosystem, that's for certain. Being under a tree is not going to help much. Your only real place where you can get away from the rain is possibly in a termite mound, which may also become waterlogged eventually, and or in a cave, and don't think there's many caves here, so most of the time the animals just lie down, deal with it. There's not too many places where they can seek refuge. Oh, we've got a clan of hyena over here. Let's stop and have a look what they're up to. It looks like they're all quite sleepy, but one of them looks hilarious. Look at how dark the one is. It's obviously been for a muddy bath this morning. Looks like a different beast altogether. And I can now just start to pick up the audio of some grunting gnu's. Really looking forward to being back in and amongst some large herds of wildebeest. And as you can see in the background there, there's quite a few little black dots peppered across the plains. So, beautiful scenes across here, short green grass, lots of good food for them. And what's also nice for them is that it's very difficult for any predators to sneak up on them. So they can enjoy snacking on these fresh green shoots with not too much to worry. A different story. Marvelous. Morning! Interested to see how long these large herds of wildebeest do stick around in this area for. It is my first season in the Mara, so I'm not too sure if there's normally this many wildebeest that stick around, but there is a theory that this herd of wildebeest used to migrate east through the Loiter Hills to an area where they used to give birth, It was a migration of about 200,000 animals, I'm told. Maybe not as many anymore. And the reason being is there's a lot of people that have moved into that area, and fences have been put up and farms have been started. So these wildebeest home has basically been slowly taken away from them. And they are now, in a sense, forced to stay here, which works well for us. And of course, I mean, it is sad, but it is the reality the world over that us humans are taking up wild spaces. And I guess Kenya, compared to a lot of the countries where you live, is just not as developed. But all of the countries where, first world countries where a lot of you are busy watching from, also used to have massive wilderness areas that slowly people took away from them, and now you're probably left with not too many. Oh, here's some of my favorite birds. They are so cool. Look at how well they camouflage. And there's one male on the left, and it looks like two females on the right. This is a yellow-necked sandgrass. I may have got the name slightly wrong. Maybe yellow-throated. But it is definitely a sandgrass. And very pretty birds. They're often, I've found with the sandgrass family, they're often quite relaxed with vehicles. Let's watch as we drive past. They'll probably just waddle off without flying away, with us just being a few meters away from them. There they go. Waddle, waddle, waddle. Bye-bye. So yes, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this herd, or these herds, because there certainly is a huge amount of wildebeest starting here, making their way south, not all the way to the Tanzanian border. They probably stretch from here about 10 miles to the south. It's like a 10 square mile block where they seem to be bunkering down for the time being. Again, Belarus, you would like to know how long will the grass stay green in this area, and I'm guessing probably until June or July next year, if the rains that we are supposed to be expecting actually come along. Sorry, there's some hyenas snoozing on the side of the road there that I have a bit of a fright to. So in theory, we've had more rain than we should have had by this time of the year. November is supposed to be the short rainy season, but we've been getting quite a lot of rain before November, and then it should rain for the month of November, and obviously little bits in between that. But the next long rains will be March, April, and that should sustain the vegetation towards the end of, you know, August, September, October. That's kind of August, September, October that are the last 3 months of the drier parts of the year, the drier season. Time will tell though, and what's interesting is that it can be green here, and just across on the other side of the river it can be brown, and vice versa. So you get a lot of very, very localized rainfall, which obviously only impacts the area of locality that it is falling. The Mara to me though seems to just be one of those places that's pretty lush throughout the year. There'll be peaks, but it's a place of plenty. And one big indicator, you know, for me has been, I've seen birds nesting from when I arrived at the end of June all the way through till now. There doesn't seem to be like a spike or a season. And it's the same with a lot of the animals that give, a lot of the mammals that give birth, especially the herbivores. In South Africa, a lot of them give birth around November, December, maybe some a little bit late in January. But here you seem to just see little babies popping up all the time. So I think even though there may be set trends and peaks of breeding and times of plenty, The animals have kind of got it really good here, it seems. Throughout the year. Okay, well, I hope Taylor's going to be up and running soon, or Noel's going to be in better signal, because we're about to drop down into a hill, or not drop down into a hill, drop down into a valley where our signal might get a little bit shaky. We are going to be heading through an area called Double Crossing, and we're going to continue with that. It sounds like Taylor has just got herself up and running again, so why don't you go and see how she weathered the storm.
I wonder if we just lost comms for a minute. Right, so not yesterday, it was a couple of days ago. You know, if you remember, I've now taken this plant out of the car and I threw it away yesterday because it was falling to bits. But maybe some of you remember, hang on, I actually have a picture here. I will show you. No, Twitter! I had the picture all loaded and now my phone has... Okay, no, I cannot show you the picture anymore because I have to sift through all the notifications. Anyway, so maybe some of you can pull it up and you can share it again with anybody. It was basically a plant with lovely sort of quite big leaves, about that sort of long, very sort of shiny, and had slight undulations, and the leaf was very smooth. It wasn't a serrated edge or anything like that, and it had all the little berries on it. Not the big tree that had fallen over, the other one. Now I think I've figured it out. I do have a little tree app on my phone, but I mean, it's so hard. It's not particularly great, but just from looking at the berries, and I wish I had a comparison picture to show you. That's them ripe. And then, remember I said that the little flower that had started to develop, we sort of started saying, I said it would be white or yellow. So I think that this is the Diospirus abyssinica. I don't know what the common name is. Let's have a little look. Giant Diospirus. So it's quite a big plant. Oh no, I've lost it. There it is again. It doesn't really have too many pictures. See, the leaves don't do it justice here, because by the time you all saw the leaves, they'd actually dried out quite a bit. But they're quite large. And these ones don't look like they have as many undulations in them, but I'm pretty sure it's the same tree. It just everything else is very similar. The bark, everything about it. So when we go along the river again, we will try and find it again. Right, let's go out of here. So I think that's it, which will be quite nice. But you can double check if you'd like, if you want to have a look. Diospirus abyssinica, or the giant Diospirus. So it's in the same family as the jackalberry, and have a look. And then, like I said, if you can share that picture. I just don't have it with me at the moment. Is there a little lost berry maybe in here? No, I cleaned the car out quite well yesterday. But now we still need to try and figure out if the other one is crocodile bark or not. I didn't see anything on it in here, but I can still scroll through. There's not many trees. There's only maybe about between 20 and 30 trees on that app. So it's not a very sort of, I don't know, broad tree app. It's just someone that's put a couple together that he noticed. But anyways, it will maybe help us out a little bit as we go along, trying to figure out some of these plants. Now, earlier there was a question from Kobe about what animal in Africa would I like to be friends with. It's a hard one because there's many different animals I'd like to be friends with, but I would have to say an elephant. I'd love to go and walk in and amongst a herd of elephants and play with all the little ones and chase them around and wrestle with them. I think that could be a lot of fun. That could be very cool. And I believe that Kobe, you actually also wanted to be friends with the elephants too. Very nice. Good choice. Very, very good choice. So the triangle is absolutely miserable this morning. I think what we're going to do tomorrow, we are going to... Hopefully we don't have the rains. We're going to go, I think I was telling you this, there were some sightings of some cheetah, of the border boys, and then a female with some cubs. I don't know if they're in good signal areas, but we will go down towards the Puringat Bridge tomorrow morning and have a little drive around there and have a little look and see if we can pick up on those spotted cats. I think we'll have more luck with lions. There's just not even much game around at the moment. I mean, we're driving for 20-30 minutes and not even seeing an impala or a topi or a buffalo. So everybody is just sort of shipped out of this particular area, but it goes in waves, you know. They're constantly moving around grazing in that area, then the rain will fall here and then they'll all come to this corner. I mean, even down towards Little Governors where the grass is only about that short and ideal for grazing, there's nothing around. They've all left. So I think everybody's obviously gone back to the west and to the south. So we'll have to have a little scratch around there. So yeah, it's very quiet. Now Lily, you're wondering if there's wild dogs in the Masai Mara. I haven't seen any, and I haven't seen any in the Triangle. I've heard reports of a pack of 3 a little bit further north of us. I haven't seen them though, and then I've also heard of some sort of east of Salas, sort of southeast of Salas, but quite far away. I don't think in the reserve. I think you can see them. It's just not particularly common, unfortunately, like we sort of see dogs in the Sabi sand. But it's nice though, we get to see other things. We don't get to see wild dogs, but we get to see bat-eared foxes and serval and all these really cool little creatures that are moving around. Lots of white-tailed mongoose. We obviously see them in the Sabi sand, the white-tailed mongoose. They seem to be a little bit more relaxed here, which is quite nice. But yeah, I do miss the dogs. I was actually talking about wild dogs the other day. I don't know how I was talking. I think I was talking to Manu about it, saying how much I miss them, and I can't wait for him to, if he ever gets a chance to go down to South Africa, which I'm sure he will, to film wild dog hunts and see how hectic it is, because these guys don't know off-roading like we do in the Sabi sand. We're really good at it there, and ducking and diving under trees. You got to be really quick and observant. Yeah, you know, you kind of relax. Yeah, when the cheetah runs off, you don't really worry about driving into a tree or anything like that. You just got to dodge the cars, really, and that's it. So I don't know if I'm looking forward to having my face whacked with branches again, or my hair getting stuck as we go through sort of areas. I do miss the cars though. I miss the little nimble vehicles. That would be great up here for chasing after, like trying to get into a better position, because they're just so zippy. You know, these bigger cars, they take a little bit longer to get going, not quite as quick off of the mark. Miserable out here. It's rained. Now it's stopped raining. It had been raining most of the morning. The clouds have lifted slightly, but I think we're just going to wait for the next wave to come through. This is typical Eastern Cape weather. I can't tell you how it feels like I'm just back at home again. Except that it's not, the wind is dying down a little bit, which is quite nice. So it's not too cold anymore. So Scott said apparently 2 wild dogs were seen in the marsh not so long ago. So that must be that group. Brent was telling me, he says there's either 2 or 3 that hang around sort of north of the Triangle. So maybe that's the ones that I was telling you about that have come down and pop around there. So that's always something to keep and sort of eye out for. I would think I would lose my mind. Imagine if Brent saw wild dogs up here. He would go ballistic. I kind of wish if anybody's going to see them, it's going to be Brent, because it is his favorite animal. And I think he would be very, very excited. I think all of us would be very excited though to see wild dogs up here. It would be a nice little surprise, but I don't think we can bank on sort of seeing them. And that is literally, that's just going to be a once in a lifetime. Oh my goodness, there they are, off we go type of a sighting. Just be at the right place at the right time. Sometimes there's lions around here. I've seen them a few times actually hiding in these little forest shrubby areas. Not today though. Just checking. Everywhere. No. What animals are here? Whew. James, you're wondering what is the rarest animal that I've seen? I think it's going to have to be the striped polecat. The zorilla is another name for it, which I've only just recently seen. I don't think I ever expected to see one in my guiding career. I mean, you read about them and you hear about them. Actually, you don't really hear about them very often. So I think that is probably the rarest animal that I've seen. I'm just trying to run through my head. Yeah, that's probably it. I haven't really seen anything else too special. Obviously, wild dogs are very, very special to see as well, but they're fairly common in the Sabi, in the greater Kruger area. Oh my goodness! It's a little namakwa dove. Hello. Look how pretty it is. Now, I just want to quickly get something. I want to open my bird app. Oh, no, this is... You know what? I cannot open my bird app. Oh, I'm so upset. I did a stupid upgrade on an update on my software on my phone, and now it's telling me I need to update my bird app. Right, good old book it is. Let me open. I just want to very quickly find it. This doesn't need to be too bothered by us. It's just I'm looking for maybe little seeds and things on the ground. What have you found? But very pretty. I just also want to show you, because we were talking about tambourine doves, so I want to show you what a tambourine dove looks like as well. So we'll get doves. D, I suppose that's after C, isn't it? And it shouldn't be too far. Right, there's turtle dove. No, we don't want that. We want tambourine, 210, and Namakwa, 210. What a coinky-dink. On the same page. Perfect. Sorry, everybody. I have to apologize again. I'm a bit slow with this book. It's a very large book. Okay. Are you ready? I want to have a look. So, the one that we were looking at now was the male. So, here we go. Here's the Namakwa doves down at the bottom. So, what gives them away, what's really easy about them to identify, is that fact that they have that very, very long tail. And then, of course, the males have got the beautiful black markings on their faces and the very, very, very white breast. Actually, no, that might have been a female. No, that was a female. It didn't have any black markings. My bad. Sorry, everybody. I'm not concentrating this morning. Then the Namakwa dove, not Namakwa dove, tambourine dove, number 4. Look how pretty they are as well. I'm sorry I don't have my app now, because the pictures are actually stunning of them, real-life pictures, but also a very, very white breast, but not to be confused with the Namakwa dove. They just don't have as long tails. I don't think there's any other doves, actually, that have long tails like that. Let me just check. Seeing as though this is an entire new... well, it's an Africa book, south of the Sahara. Those are pigeons. Sorry, it's so hard to use. It's too big. No one else has got long tails like that. So you cannot get confused with a Namakwa dove. Very, very easy. But there's lots of different ones there. Where are we going to find the blue-spotted wood dove? I know you could see them in Zambia. These ones up here, this is one that's also on my list that I'd really like to see. They do not occur in Kenya. They occur everywhere else around Kenya, but not there. But that'd be nice. I'd like to have to go back to Zambia and see if I can find a blue-spotted wood dove. So I'm sure they're very much like our emerald-spotted wood dove, but just with blue little spots on its wings. Okay, let's try not to get stuck like I did yesterday. I slid into one of these sort of ruts and couldn't get out. It was so much fun. Sorry, Namakwa dove, where are you going to go? I'll let it have that way. Now, Stephen, you're wondering... Actually, I might have some. You're wondering if I keep sort of notes of where I sort of see animals. And I just want to see if I've started marking out on this map already. That was my goal. This is the reason why I actually bought this massive map, was to mark out where I saw things. Let me just check. Or did I make another map? I can't. I'm trying to remember, memory relapse. If it was on this map, or if it's I have another map in my room. It might have been the other map in my room, but we'll check one of my notebooks just now as well. No, it's not on this one. I've got 2 maps. This is just a big map of the triangle and the reserve. Pop that back. Put that one back in. Let me just check these notebooks. I've got too many notebooks. This is actually a problem. Just have one notebook and not like me and have 5,000. Because otherwise you forget where you put everything. Oh, hang on. No, here's another one that I did. I printed this out, and this is pretty much of the triangle and the reserve as well. And I started adding little points as to where I was seeing certain lines, and then I've forgotten. But I do have another big map which I've done it, which has got more of the sightings on it. So I put the triangles when I first started seeing. Sorry, my hands are also very dirty because I've been lifting the covers up and down, so they're covered in mud now. So I do apologize. My hands are normally much cleaner than this. But the triangles are where I first started seeing the Chelly boys. So the first time I think I saw them, was it at Hippo Pools when they were mating with that lioness? I think so, down here. And then, of course, the Angama llamas are the little spots up on their favorite lugger, which I had to draw in. And then the sausage tree pride hang around, sort of around there at the base of the escarpment. So yeah, so sometimes I do, but I've been a little bit slack lately. So I need to get back on it. So I shall make a concerted effort to keep plotting where I see animals. I need to actually put den sites in. That's what I need to start doing, because that's really interesting, to try and work out where animals are, if they're using the same den site. There's no Makwa dove is following us. You can stay on the road. I will go this way around, because there's obviously lots of goodies for you to eat there, and I don't want to disturb you foraging. There we go. Now it's not going to be in front of the car again. We can carry on driving. What else are we going to see along the way? You know what would be really great right now is a cup of tea. That would be fantastic, because we've been, well, I didn't get too wet this morning. I was damp. So a nice cup of tea, maybe some rooibos, with a little bit of honey. Oh, that would be lovely. Or we need to make the Lipia tea again, which would be quite nice. Who knows? Maybe Elka has. Oh, Louise, you're saying chai. I'm not a fan of chai tea. But I don't know, too many spices in there for me. I'm simple kind of girl. Give me the rooibos tea. Rooibos, I think, is my favorite. Although I like green tea as well. I love green tea. But you got to make it the old school way. You got to have the green tea. You have the leaves, and then make it in a little porcelain teapot. You know, like when you go to a Chinese restaurant. Oh, it's the greatest thing ever. So nice. So I like that. My dad lives on green tea. He says that's why he never gets sick, because he just drinks it. And my dad is never sick, hardly ever. So maybe it works. Well, I don't know where our leopard friend went. He could have gone anywhere though. I suppose that's a big gamble. But like literally, have a scan around here. There's not an animal in sight. There really isn't. It is a beautiful green wasteland. That's it. There's no animals, unless you can find one that I've missed. But the grass is very tall here too. So there probably is a serval, something sitting in this long grass. But very, very, very quiet. And with all this lovely rain that we've had, it's only going to get taller and taller and taller. I'm nervous to see what the vegetation is going to look like at the beginning of next year. I think, when does the grass normally get to its peak, Jar? Sort of the highest.
Around
March. So Jar says that at about March or so the grass is really tall, and he says in some spots you could walk through there and you wouldn't even see the tip of your head, so well over 2 meters tall, which will be quite hectic. So that is going to make game viewing particularly difficult, unfortunately, for us in those months. And I think then trying to battle through the rain is going to be quite fun. So woohoo! Luckily I brought my boots. Right, Scott seems to be struggling with some animals now too. He's also having a break. He started off very well this morning. Let's go and see what he's searching for next.
We're just happy to take whatever we can get, really. There's been a lot of general game across this side, and I think that's due to the fact that there is just the perfect habitat at the moment. Nice and open, difficult for predators to sneak up on them, yet lots of fresh green shoots to feed on. Also reminiscing about seeing the Musketeer Coalition in this area. When I first arrived here in June, they often moved through this area back into the surrounding conservancies to the north of us. So it must be said, we're very fortunate that they have decided to kind of bunker down in a much smaller area, and also an area where they're almost permanently in an area where we can actually drive. Initially they were disappearing onto the community conservancies where we don't have permission to go. There's a tree up ahead that you can see on the horizon. Some of you may remember the TV show where we had some incredible 2 shots of the cheetah scent marking against that tree with some impala alarm calling at them. As you can tell, the roads are quite bumpy on this side of the reserve. Hello, Becca Sue, you would like to know what is the most common predator in the Mara, and without a doubt it is lions. If you drive around for a couple of hours in this reserve and don't see a lion, it's like a small miracle. It's a very lion-heavy predator population. To be fair though, there are also huge numbers of hyena. There's possibly actually more hyena than lion. But out of the big cats, definitely the lion is the most dominant. And then it'll be interesting, between cheetah and leopard you'll probably find the populations are fairly similar. But that is just a guess on my side. I think the cheetah population within reason will be fairly easy, not easy, but it will be possible to work it out. But leopard would be very, very difficult to calculate. There's a lot of areas that are just impenetrable, and I think they are home to quite a few shy and elusive leopard. Very good. Well, you'll be glad to know that Noel has found two things, both signal and some lions.
Hi everyone, we have the Nkuhumas. I'm so excited. It's my first time seeing them. Our picture is a little bit on and off, so I'm going to do the best I can to get you the best sighting that I can without losing too much picture. We are at Biffle's Hook Dam, so they've makes sense with the type of tracks that we saw this morning. But I did promise you some lions, so Jeandre and I are raced here in our really rainy weather to show you some beautiful lions on Sabi Sands, which I don't think we've seen lions in quite a while. I think it's been a bit since we've seen any lions. So we've got quite a few youngsters, we've got a few adults. You, the viewers, will actually know the Nkuhumas better than I do at the moment. So I don't know if there's anything you want to share with me about them that you think that I should know. It's interesting. So they're wet. They don't really like being wet. So they're grooming. But with this mist, they're just going to stay wet. Oh, shame. Two females are grooming each other there. I love lions. They're very, very full. You see that fat belly? They've eaten something recently.
Well, we are back up and running. We are ready to go. So Senzo was just wiping the lens quickly to get us ready to go. Now I believe my audio is very muffled, which is probably because my mic cable has fallen out with being under a car. So hold on 2 seconds. Sorry about that, Louise. It's my fault. I've got to try and find my cable now. Oh no, what's going on? Oh, there we go. So if you all just give me 2 seconds, I'll sort it out quickly. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you sit underneath the car. This little cable pulls out and I didn't even remember. There we go. How's that, Louise? Are we better now? I'm sure we are. There we go. We've done all our maintenance. We're back up and running. Sorry about that, everybody. I forgot to check my mic cable. Like I say, we were under a car for a while. Senzo was wiping the lens. That was a bit of a horrid start to us rejoining the show. But anyway, we're back up and running. Steering rod has been changed, replaced, thanks to Opal coming and giving us a hand quickly. So that's all sorted out. And now we're back up and running. Now I want to go and just check around Twin Dams. Maybe I can find Tundi again from heading that side of town. She was moving south down the Mulawati, so maybe I'll get lucky. I don't think so, but let's just try nonetheless. Otherwise, we're going to go explore a little bit. It's absolutely delightful weather out here. It's nice and warm and dry and very pleasant, so why not enjoy the morning's affairs. Now it worked for us this morning to go left at this road, so let's do that again and go left, and maybe we'll get lucky once more. Super excited though, not only because of Tandy's Den. Tandy's Den is a win for sure, and hopefully that is going to just be hours of entertainment coming later in the year. But I think the other exciting thing is Noel with the Nkuhumas. When last did we see the Nkuhuma Pride? That must have been a long time ago, and I'm very curious to see if Noel notices that there's more than one female with suckle marks, because everybody keeps saying that the second female has had cubs, but at the end of the day, unless there's actually evidence of the cubs or suckle marks, it's difficult to say. But maybe Noel will be able to confirm for us if all 5 females are there and all of them do have cubs. And I'm very, very interested to see how the lioness with the big wound on her hip is doing and whether or not that's healed. So exciting times to have the Nkuhuma Pride back in this area. It really is happy days. Well, I think so anyway. I know it's been great having lots of leopard around, but it's always very good to have some lions around too. They've surely been missed by many of you. I know there's a lot of you that are big into the lions, and I'm sure you guys will be happy to have seen the Nkuhuma Pride once again back on Djuma. Hopefully they stick around for a few days. Maybe this weather they manage to find themselves a giraffe or a buffalo and they hunt that down, and we can keep them here for a few days. That'll be quite nice. Although it's typical, we get a leopard den that we find, and the lions arrive pretty much at the same time again, close to where that den is. So the lions must just stay away from where Tundi is. They're welcome to be anywhere else on the reserve, but they must just leave Central Road alone. The problem is that they walk there often, and I was alluding to that fact earlier, is that that den site is right on a road that is used a lot by a number of different animals. So it's used a lot by, you know, things like the lions and leopard and various other things. So she's going to have to be a bit careful there. I think it's going to be a tough spot for her, and I wouldn't be surprised she moves them fairly quickly. I think she's going to have them there for maybe a week or so, and then I think she's going to move them somewhere else. But it's so cool to see that she's given birth on Djuma. Like I say, it's going to give us lots and lots and lots of great moments ahead, hopefully, if those little cubs can make it past. It's always difficult at this time, and I know James alluded to this yesterday, that, you know, when you're at this time of the year, at this time of the sort of cubs phase of life, everything is dangerous to them. So not only is it, you know, the big predators like lion, leopard, hyena, snakes are a problem, birds of prey are a problem, water is a problem. So there's all these kind of things, and you kind of hope that they sort of figure it out and they're able to get out of that, you know, that sort of phase and into the sort of 3-month area where they're able to climb, and that normally ensures a lot more greater sort of survival rate. Right, well, we're going to meander along, search around, see what we can find, go and have a little look in the south, because I don't think anyone has done so. And so while we do that, let's go back to Scotty D, who appears to be quite wet in the Mara this morning, but I'm sure he'll have a lot more to be able to tell you.
Well done, Tristan, for getting your vehicle back up and running, I'm sure with the help of Opa, the trusty mechanic at Djuma. And these are some rock pigeons. They're not necessarily very rare birds, but I don't think a lot of you would have ever seen them, because they don't occur in Djuma. I've seen a few flying around here in the Mara. I think they're very, very pretty pigeons. So I thought a lot of you might enjoy adding these to your bird lists. And they're just waddling about, snacking on little grass seeds. I wonder where they live, because as their name suggests, they do like living in rocky environments, or at least nesting in them. So they may have a bit of a journey from a rocky outcrop somewhere to get to here for their feeding. They're well known for traveling fairly big distances in search of food, the old pigeons. Interesting, Louise said these guys actually tried to nest in her tent while she was up here in the Mara. That's interesting, Lou. And I guess, like most pigeons, they can actually be a bit of a nuisance. They do like using our human infrastructure for their homes. And which would be fine if they just lived there, but they seem to just have bad decisions for where they decide to make their toilet. It can often be quite inconvenient for us. Hi, Andy. You've remarked that they look similar to the pigeons in New York City. They do look similar to feral pigeons, indeed. I guess feral pigeons all look fairly similar across the globe. Oh, don't all fly away. No, they're not interested. Bye-bye. But they're certainly not as manky and filthy as the old feral pigeons get. Shame, they obviously missed out on hygiene classes while they were being trained how to live amongst us as humans. So we're going to drop down into some low-lying areas here in and along the Talek River. We're still north of the Talek River. It's just down to the left of us. Talek town.
We've lost Scotty with the gremlins. It seems that the rain is affecting everybody this morning a little bit, but hopefully that will be the last of it for some time. Now you can see with rain, often you will find these things lying around. They become quite sticky, and so they don't get blown around by the wind as much, and they tend to stick onto the trees a little bit better. And so what you're looking at there is a skin of a snake. So this is where a snake has slothed its skin, or shed its skin, if you want to call it that. And they often will be found in trees like this. So if you go into anywhere around this area and you're looking for snakes, and particularly when they're shedding, they will go into thorn trees like a buffalo thorn. It just helps them be able to kind of grip that old skin, and they can then pull out, and the skin actually sort of stays on the tree itself and is held by the thorns. So what snake it actually is, I'm not 100% sure. The tree we know is a buffalo thorn, but the snake I'm not 100% sure. It's difficult to see. I can't see the head segment of that particular skin, and so it could be a boom slung, it could be a vine snake, it could be a spotted bush snake, could be a mamba. It's difficult to say. Obviously most of the snakes will utilize trees when shedding. It's very seldom that they do on the ground, other than things like puff adders and night adders and those kind of things. But nice to see, and it's amazing how it stands out in this sort of dreary weather against a dark background. Amanda, you said it almost looks like a piece of lace. It does, doesn't it? You kind of, the belly scales are those long sort of segments that you see coming off the side, and then you've got that sort of back region. And sometimes if depending on which snake it is, sometimes you can even see bits of coloration still in the skin itself, and you can work out what it is. But it does look very lace-like, doesn't it? It's going to be very soft and mushy if we go there with all this moisture in the air. It will be a soft kind of mushy, horrible feeling to it. Also, I don't really want to go and deal with the buffalo thorn right now. I was thinking about going and getting it out, but to get that out of there is going to take a lot of perseverance, and there's going to be buffalo thorns stuck to me in every direction, and so I think our snake skin is just going to have to stay there and stay a mystery for now. But a fairly decent sized snake. I mean, it's not massive by any stretch of the imagination, but still very cool to see. And if we got there, we'd be able to do a head count and scale count, and that would give us a definite ID. But like I say, wrestling with buffalo thorns is never the best idea. Now, talking about trees and buffalo thorns and various other things, I believe Taylor McCurdy, who obviously is in the Mara and has been learning a lot of different things about the ecosystem up there, has found herself what sounds like a new plant that grows into a sturdy, strong, woody tree.
That I have most certainly been doing, Tristan, and I thought I'd try and make a concerted effort to go through some trees. So we found another one, and it's a big tree, and I said to you that it reminds me very much of the Matumi tree, which we see in South Africa. It's got a very similar leaf structure. It's also evergreen, and it grows particularly tall and along river systems, or anywhere where there's quite a bit of water. And just so you know, the Latin name is Elstonia bunai, and a common name for it is patternwood, or it's also known as mujwa. But what I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to jump out. I'm being very naughty, but there's no cars, so don't tell anyone. I've tried to park very, very close. But here's this little one that's just growing now. Let me find somewhere to tuck this cable in. And one of the things as to how I identified it is, firstly, I think the leaf just sort of the leaf structure and the way it grows is very, very easy. I haven't seen anything else that grows out like this, other than the matumi tree in South Africa that we see, and I'm sure you get them throughout Africa. But the fact that it has a milky latex as well, so it is toxic. So, as long as I don't fall off the edge, which one am I going to break? Let me break a stem up here. Look what happens when I snap that. You can actually start to see a little bit of the milky latex. Hang on, there's the nice little bit there, starting to ooze out. And we know that a milky latex typically indicates that the plant is toxic. So, in this case, very much like the euphorbias, you don't want to get it into your eyes because it can cause permanent blindness. So leave it alone. I wouldn't really want to burn this wood, although they say that you can use the wood as firewood. I'm not too fond of burning things that will then smoke that have got a poison to them. We'll rather skip them, we'll find something else to use instead. But they're very popular throughout Africa, these particular trees, and the reason for them is because they get so massive, they can grow up to over 40 meters. I mean, these are actually, I would assume, small ones, is they plant them in coffee plantations, banana plantations, and tea plantation to try and help sort of shade all of those valuable plants, which is quite cool. So I thought that was quite nice. So there's another one that we can now add to the list, which is quite cool. I'm not too sure of too many medicinal properties. We'll have to go and do a bit of research. I did quickly read though on this app that I had that apparently the bark has got diuretic sort of alkaloid properties to it. So quite interesting, but we should do some more now that we've got the name and the Latin name and the common name, and I think they call it mujwa. Mujwa, M-U-J-W-A in Swahili is the local name that it is referred to, so we'll have to add that down as well. And I will confirm with some of the other guides, maybe from Angama, or in passing on the bridge, I'll ask them if they know exactly the common name, or maybe they call it something else here in the Mara. But I thought that was quite cool, because this one has been bugging me for quite some time now. Oh, there's a Baglefect weaver, I think that's how you pronounce it. There's actually a few of them. I wouldn't know how else to say it. And I think Brent describes them as the Mark V of the weavers. They go so quickly. And they have been stripping a lot of these sort of leaves and bits of grass. And they're obviously building their nest somewhere. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any weaver nests. I did see them in fever trees, though, down along the Talek River. Now, Izzy, I think you were wondering about whether the milky latex will be toxic to animals. We're going to drive away from here now. Most certainly, except some animals are able to digest the sort of proteins that are within a milky latex. So remember, our digestive system is very toxic. So what might be toxic to us probably isn't toxic to a lot of the animals. So things like elephants and black rhino and kudu and giraffe, and particularly black rhino, kudu and giraffe, are known to eat small amounts, and I can just talk about the euphorbias in South Africa, which we know are heavily sort of toxic. So yes and no. I haven't seen anything feeding on that tree. We see a lot of baboons hanging around and then jumping about in that tree, but it's also just a very nice spot to roost. Whether they'd be feeding on it, I'm not so certain. Again, even just watching monkeys, or watching the Sykes monkeys, or watching the olive baboons feed, you really wouldn't want to be eating the same things that they're eating, because their digestive system is still very different to ours, and again, they can handle certain toxins a lot better than what we'd be able to. So, in my opinion, unless you know exactly what it is, don't eat it. I mean, there's some plants, for instance, like the Lantana species, Lantana rugosa, what's a bird's brandy? You can eat that, and then its cousin, the Lantana camara, which is an invasive species in this area, horrible. Very, very toxic, and toxic to a lot of domesticated animals, and they eat it, they don't usually make it through either. So, it just sort of depends. What else? Num-nums have got a milky latex too. The Carissa bispinosa, which one of my favorite fruits to eat. It's like what natural bubble gum, isn't it? And you just chew on the fruit. I didn't even get to get one. I tried one when I was just before I left the Lowveld, and they weren't particularly ripe. They were a little bit bitter, which is a bit sad. So I'd like to see. I don't know if there are any num-num species that occur here. Another plant that I saw, I'll have to go on a hike though and bring some back. I haven't seen it growing anywhere else. I also must just 100% confirm it is needlebush or bee sting bush. I think the Latin name is Zima tetracantha. I haven't seen it since Eastern Cape days. And I actually got some scratches on my leg, and it's basically got an anticoagulant in it, so it makes you bleed quite a bit, and it burns when it pricks you like a bee sting would. But I'll have to find some. It was growing up along the little stream in the gorge actually. You can't really see it, but if you go into that sort of corner, the main the big hill on the right hand side, if you just go in between that's where we go hiking. So straight in there, you can see all the greenery down in there. A bit too far, no, we're not right around the corner, but right around there is normally where our little spot is. There's two beautiful little pools of water, and I actually might go and have a look at it today and see if it is flowing and if it's ready to go swimming in yet. I don't want to go swimming in water that's been sitting for a few days. I'd much rather wait till we've had quite a bit of rain, and then it has sort of, brought some lovely new fresh water around. But very beautiful in there. Okay, but we'll carry on. We'll see if I can pick up some more plants, maybe some more trees, and try and identify them. I'm quite enjoying this. Both Jar and I are taking notes this morning. And while we do that, I'm going to send you back across to Noel, and well done on finding the lions. Very impressive.
Hello, hello, hello. So I know our lions were very brief, but it was still some lions. Unfortunately, we just kept losing signal. But yes, they were cute. It was good to see them. Lots of grooming, lots of interaction going on, and full bellies. So they're going to be in that area for a while. I would imagine with the tracks that we had this morning and the way that they were looking when we saw them now, that they came through early last night, probably killed something close to the dam, and then have moved to the dam. They finished it off and then moved to the dam to drink water. So we are now in a better signal area so that we can broadcast to you guys, because it's very difficult. We can find all these wonderful animals for you, but if you can't see them, there's really no point. So we're just sitting here by Vulatel Dam, by Djuma Dam, and trying to see if anything will come down and drink. There's a little sandpiper. You read my mind, Gendre. It's looking like... Ooh. Sorry, I'm just having a closer look. Let me see the shoulders. I think it's a common sandpiper. Beautiful. Just digging around in the mud there. I don't know, can you all hear the hornbills in the background? Of course, now I say that, they stop. And then they've stopped forever. You'll notice it's interesting, with weather like this, you won't get a lot of birds necessarily flying around. There's the hornbills. Might be a little bit far off for everybody. Unfortunately, you can't. It's a little bit too far off. With weather like this, you'll still get a lot of bird activity because of what we were talking about with that hornbill earlier that was on the ground. The insects are going to be moving around in this slight drizzle, and so a lot of the insectivorous birds will definitely still be moving around to incorporate that. There is another wader, Gendre, towards the larger body of water, but sort of directly in line with the sandpiper. Oh yeah, the pole's in the way. Maybe if I move up a wee bit and go like this, that might work out better. Little three-banded plover. We had those cute little three-banded plover chicks with Tristan. I think that was, at Chitwa Dam, that's where it was. But this one doesn't look like it has any chicks to me. Also just out scavenging around. I can hear frogs in the background, but I think it's going to be a little bit too far. But with this light drizzle, if this sticks around all day and we get some heavier rain today, as the water table starts to fill up, as these pans start to fill up a little bit more, we will get more frog activity. So we'll have a good chance to do quite a bit of frogging, and hopefully we'll be able to do it where you can actually hear their calls. Yeah, Jesse, look, I hear what you're saying about wanting more water in the water hole for the animals, but remember as well that everything in nature sort of happens for a reason. This type of water, this is enough for them. They don't need more. If we were to put in more water, we are going to alter the natural cycle of things too much at this point, because we're not going through a drought. So this is fine. The animals are fine. There's other spots that also have water. And remember, you don't want too much water in one place, because if you do, then there's going to be too many animals that are going to come to that one area, and then they're going to overgraze and overbrowse the vegetation around that, and then that's going to put off anything else from being able to come there, and then soon nothing will be able to come there at all, because there's no point in traveling kilometers where you can't feed just to get to water in an area like this. Every area is different. So this amount of water is okay for now. If it goes lower than this, then we might have a little bit of a worry situation, but again, nature's very good at sorting itself out. We as humans need such caretaking in our lives that we forget sometimes that we ourselves are actually quite hardy, but that the other species that are out in the bush are very, 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 very hardy, and can do with what looks to us to be a dismal situation, for them can be a perfectly fine situation. So I don't think you should worry too much at all. I'm so sad you can't hear these hornbills. They're all around. No, and then they've gone off. Ooh, faintly, Lou says, faintly. Ooh, Becca Sue, you're asking what bird takes the longest to reach adulthood? Look, Becca Sue, I can't give you 100% answer on that. Worldwide, in Africa, it takes a battler eagle roughly 9 years, if I'm remembering correctly, to get adult plumage. So it stays sort of brown and then starts to only get a little bit of the white on the wings later on. But in terms of actually being adult size the longest, I would have to do some research for you. I don't know if there's anyone else out there that knows. Let's maybe stick to sub-Saharan African birds for that, and then maybe worldwide birds as well, if anyone has any answers. But then, you know, sort of the physical growing into the adult shape, like a battler will fledge and then reach that size within a season. It's just then the adult plumage that takes that long to get through. Good question. I have homework today. Thank you. Homework to look at on this rainy day. So, consulting detective, you're saying that ground hornbills longest to mature. Yeah, I can see where you're going with that as well, consulting detective, because it takes a few years. They need a lot from the parents beforehand. But I'm not sure, again, off the top of my head, if it takes quite as long plumage-wise as the battlers. It's also, I think, maybe let's break this down. Are we talking actual physical body shape or plumage, or when do they need to leave the parents? Because with ground hornbills as well, a lot of times they'll reach, they'll go from an infant to a juvenile, and then they'll get their adult plumage after, I believe it's 3 or 4 years, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head, but don't quote me on that. But then they stick within the flock, they stay together, whereas a battler, after it's reached sort of a juvenile status, it's going to go off on its own. Even though it doesn't have adult plumage yet, it's going to be off on its own. So I think maybe our parameters are super wide. We can maybe come up with different scenarios for each one. Sorry, Lou, I didn't catch that. Can you say one more time? So we have Tristan with an update. I'll be interested to know what his update is, so let's head over to him and see what he's up to.
Well, Noel, I've not really gotten too far because of this weather. It's causing a few issues with our signal. It's low, it's dense, it's not very nice, and so it interrupts our signal a little bit, so we couldn't go too far. But we did find tracks for Shadow's cub and what looks like Shadow around Treehouse Dam. It looks as though from early this morning there is a bit of rain on top of them. There are some that are fresher than others, so it seems as though Shadow's little cub was all around Treehouse Dam again this morning. So maybe this afternoon she'll be found again in that particular area, which is good news. So that's a good sign. No signs of Tundi coming out of the Mulawati see. So I think she might have headed back to the den. Maybe she's gone and gotten out of the soggy weather and gone and curled up with her little ones and decided just to go and have a bit of a rest. So that's time to get around to do. We kind of went down Twin Dams and went along towards Treehouse, and now we're coming back up towards Quarantine. It is damp and the rain seems to be getting a little bit harder now. Actually, we're getting a situation where we're getting a bit more kind of rain coming into the south. Looks absolutely horrific, which I will show you shortly. Yes, James, she will most certainly actively mark her territory now that she's given birth. I know they do it a lot more when they kind of start out before they give birth. They really are heavily scent marking, but when after she still will have to mark territory, but she doesn't want people like, leopards like Shadow or any of the other females that could potentially come in here to move in while she's not, patrolling as much. So she still will mark, she still will go around, but she'll be very secretive around the den itself. So she's not going to be marking territory at the den. She's not going to be going to the den and being, marking all around it, because obviously that's going to attract attention to it. So you'll find she'll scent mark, but once she's quite far away, she's not going to do too much marking very close, and she certainly won't be scraping her feet in her urine very close to the den itself. So she's going to try and avoid making too much sort of a chemical signature that leads to that area. Obviously her scent is going to eventually attract things, and that's why they do move the den as much as they do. So you'll find there will be a bit of scent marking away from that just to keep other females at bay on the fringes of her territory, but her actual marking around the inside to be very, very limited, and in fact probably non-existent, which is quite interesting. So it's going to be an interesting phase. I think Tundi is going to be a lot more defensive of this area than she has been, given that she's not an area she knows very well, but we'll just have to see. Right, we're going to head home, get into some dry clothes, and while we do that, let's go back to Noelle so she can say her final goodbye for the morning, and we'll see you all this afternoon from our side.
Okay, we are huddled underneath a marula tree. Our drizzling weather is getting more drizzly, if that's even correct English. But let's recap from today. We had wonderful views of Tundi with Tristan before he had some malfunctions. We did some great tracking with me. Unfortunately, our male lions went west over our border, and our wild dogs went west over our border, but we did finally get the Nkuhumas. And then we've had some nice little segments with Taylor and Scott up in the Mara, but it looks all around like some pretty drizzly weather. Now, I have to say, even though this type of weather makes me slightly sad, I like hot, warm weather. This weather is really important for the bush. It's this time of year. We need it. We need it to be drizzling. We need it to sit for a bit. We need our water table to come up. It's better for everything all around. So I have a feeling that this is going to stick throughout the day, although it would be nice if it lifts up a little bit more for our segment this afternoon. But we will just have to wait and see. I can still hear our frogs in the background. Hopefully they will come up towards the dam a little bit more and we can hear them a bit better. But you can see that overcast sky. It's really just moisture everywhere. So we are going to go and hunker down. From myself and Jandre and Tristan and Taylor and Scott and FC and all of the crews, thank you so much for joining us at Safari Live.